for the time being. We'll see. 888-589-8840. Let me go to the phones. Let me get to David. David's calling us from Columbus, Ohio. Hey, David.
Hi. You were talking about GM earlier.
Yes.
GM's been turning out junk for years. I had a 79 Keller Supreme Brome, which had a transmission failure early in its life, and GM did not stand behind its T200 transmission. Point number two I'd like to make, and this is off the subject, the Race for the Cure is going on in Columbus, Ohio this weekend. A lot of that money goes to Planned Parenthood, which is the largest abortion provider in the United States. Abortion does cause breast cancer. Go to www.abortionbreastcancer.com or Google. So you're going to have an abortion, click onto where it says Dr. Hearn, and there's a whole panel of doctors that will not only tell you about how abortion causes breast cancer, but also causes many other problems.
Right. Good stuff. Thank you, David. I appreciate you giving us an update on that. Thank you. 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. Let me go to Jerry. Jerry's calling us from Texas. Hey, Jerry. Oh, Emily? Emily's on deck. I'm sorry, Jerry. Hang in there, brother. Emily calling us from Ohio. Hey, Emily.
Hi, Dan.
How are you?
Thank you so much for everything you do. I just really appreciate you.
Thank you.
I have two questions. We have 529 plans for our girls, and that's mutual funds.
Uh-huh.
I'm just wondering if that's what you would recommend for college savings.
How old are your girls, Emily?
They are 6 and 8.
I'll tell you, I'm okay with the 529 plan if it's convenient for you, it's easy for you. I don't know a lot about Ohio's. There are some states, 529 state plans that I really like. Ohio's not one that I've looked into very much. What are your options as far as investment of those funds go? Do you have? Go ahead.
They have Vanguard. And that's what I'm in right now. It's the Vanguard Growth Index portfolio. And they have some age-based options, which have done very poorly. So I actually changed into the Growth Index fund. There's some savings, just basic savings accounts. But I wasn't, just based on your philosophy, I thought, well, maybe this is not what we should be doing for college savings.
Well, it's certainly, I'm okay with the Vanguard Growth Index. I'm glad you're in that fund for the long term. I can't obviously, Emily, when you talk about my philosophy, of course, from a biblical perspective, I can't use Vanguard's Growth Index. So because of some of the companies that are inside of that. So pretty much from a mutual fund perspective, I'm going to stick to Timothy plan and Timothy funds from a mutual fund perspective. Otherwise, it would be individual stocks. So there's a Vanguard fund that I have in my overall stock list. It is a TIPS fund, a inflation protected bond fund. So, but other than that, I'm not doing any stock mutual funds for biblical reasons. If you are in a 529 plan, feel you need to stay in that, then you're in the right fund. But I can't say from a biblical perspective or from my overall investment philosophy it'd be the right thing to do. The other thing I would point out to you, because I think this is important, Emily, you know best. So if I love the idea, I love the premise of having a 529 plan. I really do. I think it's great. I love the idea of having that available. It is creating a discipline among young people to be saving for the young children. And I really like that, and I appreciate that, and I think that's great. The only other thing that I would say is, one, you always have to remember, and you may not fall into this category, if you have young children and you think that there is a possibility, maybe because, maybe you work in an environment where your pay is low, or you're always going to be kind of in a lower to medium income range, and you would like your children to be eligible for certain grants, not necessarily loans, but grants or scholarships. Sometimes the participation in a 529 plan, or any savings at all for that matter, in their own name will disqualify them from consideration. So that's always something to think about. If that is an issue, then the only thing you can do is have an account in your name that is a separate account from your other stuff, by which you would be putting your money into on a regular basis. Maybe it's with Timothy Plan, maybe, and you're picking one of their mutual funds, and you are every month making some deposits into that on a regular basis. But it's in your name. You know it's for your children's education, but nevertheless, it's in your name. So that would be another option. There are no biblically responsible options in any 529 plans that I know of in any of the states. And it's a great question. I should ask Timothy if they're making any headway in getting approved in any of those from the states. So from purely as an investment, from an investment perspective, without considering, which I don't do, but without considering the biblical responsibility side of things, then it's fine. You're okay where you are. Would I like to see you change? Sure, I would. I think we should honor the Lord with the money that he's blessed us with. And I would like to see you change and, maybe you make your contributions to a different plan. That you can.
Is there time to ask you one more question?
Sure.
We are building our portfolio based on your recommendations, and kind of just started this. And I wanted to ask you, how long is it going to take us, and you might not be able to answer this, to build a strong portfolio? Just looking at your recommendations, should we be looking at a year or two to get a fully funded portfolio?
That's a good question. I would say, Emily, that it's probably going to take a year and a half. It really is going to depend on what has happened. So, and what I mean by that is it's going to depend on the markets and the economy as to how many of the stocks that I track and follow I get onto my buy list at any given time. So it's going to, my buy list has shrunk in the last month and a half. I had a month there. I had about, I guess, the month of March maybe, where it was pretty strong. I had a number, I might have had 30 or 40 different companies on it. It is shrunk from that. Unfortunately, the thing I don't like about my list right now, it is very heavily weighted in energy. So that's a concern of mine. I don't have enough diversification. I sent out I'm going to send out an alert today talking about highlighting basically 4 of the companies on my list and point out the diversification properties in those companies. So unfortunately, Emily, I would say that it's probably going to take you another year and a half before you get that plan implemented. What I don't want, once you get that plan, your asset allocation model pretty much complete, then I want you to get into a point where you're buying the same things, you're adding to your positions. I use myself as an example, my IRA. I don't see myself in my IRA adding new positions. I don't have a lot of positions. I've got maybe 10, 11, and most of them I've had for years. So when I have an opportunity to put some more money in my IRA, it goes into adding positions. So I'm looking to add to Ford or Exxon or International Paper or some of those that I have. So once you get some good solid companies, then you'll get to the point where you can add to those positions, regardless, by the way, of whether they're on my buy list or not, because if you're dollar cost averaging, you're doing it every month, then I'm okay with you adding to positions. But it's going to be at least another year and a half, unless I really feel as though stocks, if we had a dramatic pullback in the market and the values on stocks begin to get a little bit more in line with my philosophies from a financial standpoint, then my list is going to grow dramatically, and it could happen sooner than that. But it's probably going to be a while.
And then one other quick question. Are you still recommending that we have a cash position of 40 to 50%, or should we revert back to your allocations?
No, go back to my allocations. Now, I changed my allocations in January, where I lowered the amount of cash I changed it sometime in the first week of January, and I lowered, might even been the last week of December, but I lowered the cash that I wanted to see in your account. So check with that. Go back and check that. I don't see me changing that, by the way. So for the in the near future. So make sure you just align yourself with that, which means that at least every quarter you're probably going to have to reallocate, because if you started, let's say you started at the beginning of the year, you might have some, you might be over allocated in one place because of the increase in value of some of those stocks. So check that asset allocation model out, because it did change.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Emily. I appreciate your support too, by the way. That's